Randolph syndrome, a strange disease that humanity has discovered in recent times, drives people insane and causes them to fall into a deep coma. The recently discovered underground world in Antarctica is believed to be the source of this disease. That place harbors countless bizarre creatures unlike anything on the surface, as well as a new source of resources. No one knows the mysteries of this world or how it threatens Earth. Back to the present, the surface world is continuously trying to prevent the epidemic by isolating those who show symptoms from crowded areas and public spaces. At the same time, the world has established an association for heroes to showcase their abilities in protecting humanity. And now, we meet Kai. At this moment, he has submitted his application to the Hero Association for recruitment. When asked about his reason, he simply stated that he wanted to become a hero. The Hero Association, stationed in Antarctica, reviewed Kai's information and found it rare that someone as naive as him still existed in this era. However, since this was a consequence of their advertisements, they had no choice but to consider Kai's compatibility index. While his stats were mostly average, barely reaching a B rank, at least his practical test results were decent. The issue now was which team would be willing to accept a rookie like him. Shortly after, Vera, the captain of Team 11, was sent to retrieve him under orders from her superiors. They remembered that Vera was short on personnel and wanted to assign Kai to her for training. She hesitated, fearing she wouldn't be able to ensure Kai's safety, but the higher-ups simply stated that whether he survived or not was up to him, and she would bear no responsibility. Then, we meet 3 more members of Team 11: Sumair, Larry, and Rieka. Upon hearing that a new recruit was joining, they showed no interest, as in the past 10 months, 8 recruits had joined, but the survival count remained at 0. Larry, however, decided to at least give the newcomer a proper welcome. As soon as Kai arrived, Larry told him to just walk right in. The moment he did, he was greeted by an unexpected firework explosion. Larry claimed it was just a prank, but Rieka noted that Kai had been standing frozen in shock for quite a while. He then collapsed to the ground, and at that exact moment, Vera returned. They brought Kai to the infirmary, and when he regained consciousness, he met Leslie, the vice captain of Team 11. Leslie brought up the fact that Kai had joined simply because he wanted to be a hero, which made Kai wonder why that was considered strange. Leslie then took him on a tour and explained his role here exploring and extracting resources from the underground world. He also warned Kai that those who leisurely dream of heroism often don't survive long. As they walked, Kai saw some medical personnel carrying a coffin past them. Leslie remarked that working here, one quickly learns the difference between those who can be saved and those who can't. He also explained the rules of this place. First, there is no hope here, so don't cling to it too much. Second, you are responsible for your own survival. If you're tired of life, go die somewhere else, but don't drag others down with you. And never hesitate when given an order. As for the final rule, Leslie didn't say it, yet he'd wait to see if Kai could survive first. Kai then followed Leslie to gather with the rest of the team. Sumair told him that in this job, having all the necessary information is crucial, so if he ever feels like passing out, he should at least give a heads up first. He then joined 3 team members on an expedition underground. As they descended and started moving, Kai attempted to ask Rieka something, but she told him to keep quiet and not talk about unrelated matters. However, Kai wanted to know where exactly they were. Leslie answered that this was the underground world they were tasked with exploring. There were many things to explain, but he would let Kai adjust gradually. Suddenly, a monster leaped out from the swamp. Leslie identified it as a scad, a creature believed to have once lived on the surface but had undergone genetic mutations. In other words, it was a target they needed to eliminate. Leslie drew his sword and called for Sumair to send in supplies. She deployed several drones to assist the team. Rieka would fire to keep the creature restrained, while Larry would engage it up close to immobilize it. Kai only needed to stay behind and support the team just as long as he didn't accidentally shoot his allies. Leslie would deliver the finishing blow. Larry then charged in and locked the monster's arms. Meanwhile, Kai was still dazed and unsure of what he needed to do. Leslie then charged forward and cut down the monster in a single strike. He congratulated Kai on completing his first mission, though Kai felt he hadn't done anything. However, simply surviving was already an achievement. Leslie then explained that Rieka was here because she had lost a leg in an accident and came to obtain the most advanced prosthetic limb available. Larry, on the other hand, had suffered a brain injury in an accident, leaving him unable to feel pain. Everyone had their own reasons and motivations for working here. As for Kai, what was his motivation? Kai's answer remained unchanged. He wanted to be a hero, and he saw that as his driving force to change himself. Leslie told him that this was not a job for those chasing dreams because the price to pay was their very lives. Essentially, this was a dirty job, and only those who could endure it for a long time could stay. However, Leslie saw that potential in Kai. Just then, they received a distress signal from another team. Upon arrival, they discovered that one of the soldiers had mutated into a monster and massacred the entire squad. Rieka and Larry hesitated to carry out the order to eliminate it, which led to them being struck down by the creature. Kai had to call in his support drone and signaled Leslie to make his move. He then fired his weapon to draw the monster's attention. The creature turned and fired back at him, forcing him to take cover behind the drone. However, Leslie seized the opportunity to dash forward and slice its head off, successfully eliminating it. After returning to base, Leslie finally revealed the last rule. Kai was allowed to fear death because that fear would be his motivation to fight. Kill or be killed, that was the nature of this job. Everyone here was afraid, and they fought to avoid being the ones who died. Those who took death lightly had mostly already faced the consequences. Kai then reintroduced himself to the team, hoping for a long-term partnership. The next day, the entire team was deployed to a desert for a mission. Sumair urged everyone to stay cautious because there were monsters ahead. However, they saw nothing in front of them. Leslie quickly realized that the monster was beneath the sand. It suddenly lunged up, forcing the team to open fire. The creature burrowed away again, so Leslie instructed Sumair to predict where it would emerge next. She ordered everyone to be ready and, if possible, to aim for the weak spot, the orb on its tongue. When the creature burst out again, Kai failed to react in time, missed his shot, and allowed it to escape. He immediately apologized to the team, but Sumair was visibly disappointed. Upon returning, she repeatedly scolded Kai for failing to prepare properly and not pinpointing the target before firing. Kai hadn't forgotten her instructions, but he simply couldn't keep up with her commands. Sumair, however, felt like he was just making excuses and dismissed his dreams of heroism. If he wanted to dream, he should first learn to follow orders. Kai admitted that his spatial awareness was poor and that he couldn't meet her expectations. Sumair then asked what his specialty was, as everyone here had at least one area of expertise. Kai later asked Larry about this. He wondered if not having a specialty meant he couldn't work here. Larry disagreed. It wasn't that simple. Kai then asked Larry what his specialty was. With confidence, Larry claimed that his strength lay in his vast knowledge. He had read numerous academic papers, frequently conducted research, and even performed brain surgeries. He could determine a person's specialty just by examining their brain. So, if Kai needed help, Larry could assist him. Of course, no sane person would willingly let someone crack open their skull. Kai then helped Rieka carry some equipment and asked her about her specialty. She refused to share personal information. The two later ran into Captain Vera, who shot Kai a sharp glare. Feeling out of place, Kai stepped outside to sit alone. Leslie soon approached and asked why someone who wanted to be a hero looked as fragile as a wet noodle. Kai admitted that he felt like he wasn't fitting in well with the team. The captain seemed to view him as an enemy. Larry was eccentric and somewhat indifferent, though not as cold as Rieka. Leslie told him that they were just a little unusual, but he'd get used to them. Kai also noticed that Sumair was rather harsh toward him. Leslie thought it was because Sumair was under too much pressure. She was originally meant to be part of the Vanguard team like them, but failed to adapt to the environment down there, so she had to step back and take on the role of a strategist instead. If the Vanguard members were like actors, then Sumair was like a backstage crew member whom no one paid attention to. Moreover, Leslie believed that the others were strict with Kai because they saw a part of their past selves in him, a distracted newcomer entering the underworld who was practically useless at first. He just needed time to get used to everything. In the following days, Kai lived and worked with the team. One day, after being pushed by Larry to clean the storage room, he stumbled upon a magazine featuring Sumair as an idol. That evening, during dinner with Sumair, he brought it up. He never expected her to have been an idol and assumed her specialty must have been singing and dancing, given how passionate she looked in the pictures. However, Sumair suddenly got angry and walked off. Confused, Kai asked Larry why people would get mad when asked about their specialties. Larry suggested 3 possible reasons. First, they no longer liked that specialty. Second, they disliked others bringing it up. And third, they simply hated Kai. That night, Sumair dreamed about her idol days, but then the scandal that forced her to completely withdraw from the entertainment industry replayed in her mind. The next morning, she ran into Kai again. He told her that he had watched her videos. Though he wasn't good at critiquing performances, he thought she was great on stage. She was completely different from him, while he was just someone chasing the dream of becoming a hero half-heartedly and without determination. She was fully devoted and passionate about being an idol. He then asked her if she had truly wanted to leave that career behind and start over here. If that was the case, he thought it was quite admirable. Sumair wasn't ready to answer, but Leslie interrupted by calling them for a mission. The team gathered and was deployed underground once more. They were returning to the desert to finish off the monster they had let escape last time. Leslie reminded Kai to follow the strategist's instructions. When they arrived, Sumair unexpectedly ordered everyone to fire at the ground. Ryuka hesitated, noting their limited ammunition, but Sumair was confident in her plan. The monster burrowed even deeper into the sand, and Sumair instructed them to keep shooting until she gave the signal to stop. At the same time, she told Larry to separate from the group and stand alone. This effectively made Larry the bait, but since he couldn't feel pain, he accepted the role without hesitation. As they executed the plan, Sumair explained that this type of monster was a patient ambush predator that hid deep underground. However, once it had a chance to strike, it would take the bait immediately. Sure enough, it emerged right in front of Larry. The team quickly focused their firepower on it. Leslie seized the opportunity, dashed forward, and struck its weak spot, ensuring it couldn't escape again. The monster was completely eliminated, and the team returned victorious. Later, Kai met Sumair again, and she finally revealed the reason she was here. She wanted to regain her fame and return to being an idol. She then confidently told Kai that she had discovered his specialty. He was very good at encouraging others. From now on, she would continue working as the team's strategist and hoped he would keep supporting her. Soon after, Leslie approached Kai, who admitted that he had started to like the team. However, Leslie had called him over because the captain wanted to see him. When Kai met Captain Vera, she asked him if he still wanted to be a hero. He admitted that he did, so she offered him a mission. He had the right to refuse, but this mission required him to assassinate a certain individual. If this person died, world peace would be guaranteed. Kai was deeply conflicted, so Vera gave him time to think it over and strictly forbade him from telling anyone about it. In the following days, Kai was so preoccupied with the secret mission that he was completely out of it. Larry noticed and asked what was wrong, but Kai couldn't say anything. Larry then remembered that they had a day off tomorrow and invited Kai to visit the town. The next day, the team arrived at the town for a short break. They agreed to regroup in the afternoon and were free to go wherever they wanted in the meantime. Since Kai was still unfamiliar with the place, he decided to tag along with Larry. Larry then led Kai to a place called the Medical Black Market to buy supplies. However, the shopkeeper informed them that due to an epidemic spreading nearby, shipments had been halted. Only now did Kai realize that Larry's brain surgery wasn't a joke. As they left, they suddenly saw a merchant being robbed by some thugs. Larry stepped in to provoke them before leaving Kai to handle the situation. With just a simple shove, Kai sent them flying several meters away. Larry remarked that since Kai had survived in the underworld, these small fries were nothing to him. As they were about to leave, the merchant called them back, asking for a favor. Larry decided to listen to the offer. If it was reasonable, he would accept. Meanwhile, the two girls and Leslie had already regrouped, preparing to leave, when they received a message from Larry saying that he and Kai had some business to take care of and would return later. However, the three of them sensed something was off and decided to look for them. Kai and Larry followed the merchant to a bar, where he requested their help in finding a particular plant that only grew in the underworld without getting caught. Larry immediately realized that the merchant was asking them to smuggle illegal drugs. Though the merchant knew it was illegal, he had been dealing in it for a long time. However, his supplier recently cut ties with him, leaving him without a source. Larry also realized that someone within their own organization was secretly engaging in shady dealings. Kai didn't want to take the job, but Larry did. He then led Kai through an alternate route into the underworld, casually telling him to think of it as a side job. The reason Larry was so unfazed was simply because he felt no fear. As soon as they descended, Kai noticed that this place was completely different from the areas they had done missions in before. Larry explained that it was because Kai had never seen the true underworld. This was more like an oasis within it, a gathering hub for most of the creatures here. Suddenly, they encountered a young girl. Larry guessed that she was a resident of the underworld and asked if she knew where to find the plant. Kai immediately ran over to stop him, scolding him for asking a child about illegal drugs. He then told the girl that Larry was a weirdo and that she should stay away from him. The girl left, and Kai continued searching with Larry. Now curious about the residents here, Kai asked, and Larry explained that they were divided into three types: native inhabitants who had always lived here, refugees who had fled from the surface, and exiles, the least known group. Suddenly, the girl returned. Kai didn't understand why, but Larry assumed she was interested in them. She then gestured for them to follow her. Meanwhile, Leslie's group had arrived at the medical black market. They couldn't reach Kai or Larry by phone and were trying to figure out where they went when they ran into the same thugs Kai had beaten up earlier. Overhearing their plans for revenge, Leslie and the girls decided to interrogate them for information. The girl led Kai and Larry to the plant they were looking for. Kai thanked her, while Larry was pleased to obtain a sample. His true goal had been to collect a specimen for research, hoping to find a cure for the global epidemic. Since acquiring samples legally would be difficult, he took advantage of this job to achieve his objective. Suddenly, a flying monster appeared. Their guns were almost useless against it. The girl immediately ran, and Larry, seeing her as a convenient bait, thought it was lucky for them. However, Kai couldn't bring himself to abandon a child to a monster and chased after her. He managed to catch up and saved her just in time. Larry rushed in to assist and told them to take shelter in the ruins. Meanwhile, Leslie and the two girls had tracked down the merchant for information. Now, Kai and Larry were in a battle of endurance. Either the monster would lose patience and leave, or they would die first. Larry suggested using the girl as bait, but Kai adamantly refused. He had a feeling that the monster was specifically targeting her. Instead, Larry planned to create a decoy by altering his own body to mimic the girl. Confident as ever, he declared that since he wasn't afraid of anything, he would be fine. Kai opposed the idea and decided that he himself would act as bait. He reasoned that since Larry wasn't afraid of anything, he wouldn't run and would instead try to fight. Meanwhile, Kai, who feared death, would instinctively look for ways to escape rather than engage in battle, making him a better choice for the role. He then returned to the girl and asked for her name. she introduced herself as Elsie, and Kai asked her to do a few things to help him. He then ran outside to draw the bird's attention. After a prolonged chase, Larry returned after ensuring Elsie had safely escaped. At that moment, Leslie and the team arrived, ramming their vehicle into the monster, while Ryuka opened fire to drive it away. On their way back, Leslie slapped Larry for his reckless behavior, reminding him that even if he didn't feel pain, there were people who would be hurt if he disappeared. Kai then approached the captain to formally accept the mission she had assigned him. He resolved to do his best to ensure that no one had to die. However, Vera pointed out that this mindset was ill-suited for an assassin. Still, Kai wanted to contribute something to protect those he cared about. If that was the case, Vera decided to show him his target, and to his shock, it was none other than Elsie, the girl he had just met. Not long after, the team received another mission and returned to the area where Larry and Kai had previously ventured. Larry noticed that the plant was still there, but before he could think about taking it again, Leslie rushed over and warned him not to even think about it. Their enemy soon appeared. It was explained that these creatures were exiles who had mutated into monsters. In other words, they were enemies. Leslie swiftly severed one of the creature's arms, causing it to flee. He chose not to pursue it, wary of a possible trap. Sumair also noted that encountering such a monster was unexpected, as their mission was only to explore new territory. If Leslie felt the situation was unstable, they could withdraw early. Upon returning, Sumair mentioned that the captain needed to see someone. Kai assumed it was him, recalling his previous meeting with Vera, where she had refused to explain why he had to assassinate Elsie. However, Sumair clarified that Vera had actually called for Leslie. Taking the chance, Leslie teased Sumair about her shoes, saying they stood out too much for someone working in logistics. Back in his room, Kai wondered about Leslie. How could someone crack jokes, mock others, and still possess such exceptional swordsmanship? Only now did Larry start to realize just how enigmatic Leslie was. Meanwhile, Leslie met with Vera, who asked him to produce artillery shells as quickly as possible. He immediately recognized that she was planning to commit a crime. Though she didn't force him to participate, he knew that now that he had learned her secret, his survival was at stake. Left with no other choice, he agreed to follow her into the depths of hell. Later, the team gathered for a meal and began speculating about Leslie's past. None of them knew anything concrete, so they tasked Kai with investigating. Sneaking into the records room, he found several old photos of Leslie and Vera together, along with another unidentified person. The three of them concluded that Vera and Leslie must have some kind of history. At the same time, Vera met with Leslie again, asking about his progress. He then questioned why she would entrust an assassination to a rookie. Wasn't she afraid of a security breach? Vera replied that whether the rookie succeeded or failed, they could clean up the mess either way. Meanwhile, the third person from the photograph was now working at some company. A young girl named Nadia approached him, informing him that the Antarctic Front was about to take action. Several captains, including those from Unit 11, would be involved. Upon hearing this, he assessed that the situation would be easy to handle. Back at the base, Kai was diligently training to learn swordsmanship like Leslie. When Leslie found him, he remarked that Kai looked like a night owl and invited him to a bar within the base to talk. The bartender seemed familiar with Leslie and set them up with a private table in the corner. Once inside, Kai asked Leslie how long he had been practicing swordsmanship. Leslie replied that it had been 3 years, starting from when he first took this job. Leslie then asked Kai about his plans regarding the mission. That was when Kai realized Leslie was also involved in this operation. Leslie told him to relax and stop being so on edge. There was no need for that. In truth, Kai was completely lost and had no idea what to do. Leslie advised him that in times like these, it was best to follow the rules. Do not hesitate when accepting a mission, as doing so will only lead to your own demise. He wasn't sure if this mission was the right thing, but if it was to help that person, Kai wondered about that person. Leslie made an excuse and walked ahead. The bartender mentioned that Leslie had once been a famous dancer, but had to quit due to an injury and came here afterward. Kai went outside to take a phone call when he suddenly encountered a young girl. He chased after her, and suddenly the monsters from his previous mission appeared. They chased Kai, forcing him to run until he found himself cornered. But Leslie came to his aid, and together they dealt with the three monsters. Afterward, they reached a safe place, and Leslie explained that the three monsters were exiles who had been infected with a disease. Exiles are people whose status cannot be clearly defined as refugees or locals. Leslie further explained that the disease caused people to lose their sanity, leading to a hostile attitude toward other creatures. Just then, another person arrived. Leslie recognized this person but still asked who they were, unsure if the person in front of him was someone he had known. But indeed, the person recognized Leslie and noticed that the usual teasing attitude of Leslie had suddenly disappeared. Leslie asked if the person had come to explain or apologize for what had happened, but the person had come here to target Kai. Leslie immediately told Kai to run and blocked the bullet that was shot afterward. Kai ran, only to be attacked by two rabbits. Nadia appeared and recognized that Kai was the one Eden had targeted, but running wasn't a wise decision. Leslie tried to retreat but was shot in the shoulder. He believed Eden had missed another opportunity, just like before. Kai, worried for Leslie, ran but was pursued by the two rabbits. He grabbed his coat and captured them, then ran toward Nadia. The girl thought he was rushing to attack, but he ignored her. Kai turned around to attack Eden, who dodged and shot back. But Kai hit the path where he had just been shot, releasing steam to help Leslie escape. Eden decided to let this slide but said he would return next time. Leslie asked why he came back, and he said he didn't want him to sacrifice himself. He asked about Eden, and Leslie said the situation between him and Eden was something difficult to explain, but it was part of his past. He told Kai that if he wanted to ask, he could, but Leslie wouldn't answer everything. Kai understood and decided not to pry. A few days later, Kai was heading to the team's room when he suddenly saw Rieka sitting and drawing something. He knew it was her personal hobby, so he pretended not to notice. Meanwhile, Eden had returned to report to his superior about what had happened and was beaten for failing. The boss believed Eden was still valuable, so he kept him and ordered him to prepare to capture Elsie. Meanwhile, Leslie noticed Kai was troubled by the plan Vera had assigned him. Understanding Kai's feelings, he showed him the goal again. He knew Kai wanted to ask why he had to deal with that girl and who she was, but Leslie couldn't answer because he didn't know either. He advised Kai to just follow the orders and not overthink it, as the people around him were more important. He decided that within 2 weeks, Kai needed to improve his relationship with Rieka. Larry and Sumair also noticed that Kai rarely spoke to Rieka. He could talk freely with Sumair, but couldn't communicate with Rieka. What was the difference between the two? Kai remembered seeing Rieka drawing earlier, but didn't dare to say anything. So Sumair and Larry went to ask Leslie about it. The three of them thought that Kai might not be good at communicating with someone like Rieka, who wasn't great at socializing either. But the two hadn't even spoken to each other. They even wondered if Kai had a girlfriend like Rieka. But at that time, Kai was only in unrequited love and didn't dare confess, so the girl ended up with someone else, leaving Kai with a heart full of sorrow. Later, they came up with an idea to bring the two closer together. They would spend the day off together. The group invited Rieka and Kai out for a meal as a welcome party for Kai joining the team. Afterward, they decided to go shopping. Kai and Rieka walked behind, still silent and not making eye contact. They later noticed Kai showing interest in a superhero logo in an advertisement, realizing he seemed to like that kind of thing. They suddenly remembered that Rieka was an otaku, and it seemed that both Rieka and Kai had discovered each other's interests, making it difficult for them to express themselves openly. They continued shopping, and Leslie instructed Kai and Rieka to buy food while the other three would purchase the grill and charcoal. They were to decide on the quantity themselves. They realized it was like they were matchmaking for the two of them. If this matchmaking became real, the shy ones would end up being them. No one could predict what would happen tomorrow, but if these two ended up together, they hoped they would live fully in the present. Meanwhile, Vera was still having tools crafted for the plan. Her superiors had approved the plan but needed to confirm how she intended to approach the target. She explained that on the day the plan was set to unfold, there would be an underground activity, and she would have her subordinates sneak in to handle things quickly. As for Kai and Rieka, they began selecting what to buy, but Rieka kept picking too much, so Kai had to adjust the quantities. After they finished shopping, Rieka bought some fireworks to play with. She thought she was quite useless for always letting him decide everything. She then wondered why they didn't buy more food for the party. Kai thought she must come from a wealthy family, but she didn't like that lifestyle at all. After they left, Kai planned to buy a drink, while Leslie's group was still unaware of how things were going with Kai. Sumair noticed Leslie seemed to be paying too much attention to Kai, and Leslie didn't deny it, admitting it was somewhat true. Kai, having just finished shopping, accidentally ran into Nadia, the little girl from before. She immediately called Eden, signaling that monsters were about to appear. Kai ran off, and Nadia released 2 rabbits to chase him. He grabbed Rieka and pulled her to run, but the rabbits latched onto his head, forcing Rieka to knock them off. He then threw a bag of carrots to distract them, and together they kicked the rabbits away. Nadia arrived, and the monsters began to show signs of appearing, so the two decided to escape. They hid in the emergency exit stairwell, and Kai didn't know how to help Rieka escape. She wanted to cooperate with him in battle, just like before, and he accidentally quoted a line from a character in a movie, making Rieka realize they had something in common. They decided to try working together once more. The ghost chased them to the parking lot, but Kai hid above and threw fireworks down to obscure its vision. They then ran circles around it and used the fireworks to confuse it, finishing it off with a steel pipe. That evening, while hosting the barbecue party, Rieka asked Kai for a piece of meat. She had always wanted to eat meat like this, as depicted in stories. Kai noticed she really loved stories, and truthfully, he did too, though he didn't dare admit it. He always acted noble when reading stories, but wasn't as passionate as she was. Rieka thought that the reason Kai hadn't spoken to her before was because of her prosthetic leg, but he didn't see any issue with it. Kai considered himself useless, always talking about wanting to be a hero, yet never doing anything right. Rieka still thought he was better than her. She read stories to escape from the stifling real world, while Kai found reasons to change himself through stories. She would try to imitate his way and find a new self. Meanwhile, Leslie's group was happy that their plan had succeeded, but Eden and Nadia had now learned of the hero's plan and were looking for ways to sabotage it. The next day, Vera went to report to her superiors about the plan. They approved it, but still had doubts about the existence of the child of the gods she mentioned. They couldn't believe that the power of a child could change the world. They also wanted to understand why she was so insistent on the assassination plan. Was it for the greater good, or was it personal revenge? After all, the purpose of most assassination plans was typically selfish. The higher-ups wanted to know whether Vera's actions were motivated by personal vendettas or the greater good. Vera invited them to join her team on a mission so they could understand for themselves. After Vera left, she found Leslie waiting for her outside. She intended to explain the mission in detail, but he told her she could make the decisions as she saw fit. He trusted her not to let anything go wrong and had already decided to follow her to the ends of the earth. Whatever plans she had, he would follow them. Vera then gave Leslie a necklace, which contained all the details of the mission she'd recorded. Leslie then led the team into the underground world, explaining that they would need to disguise themselves to infiltrate a birthday party. After a short walk, they found a dead end, but Leslie guided them down an alternate path. Eventually, they stumbled upon a village underground that didn't seem very friendly. Leslie arrived at the location indicated on the map and knocked on the door. When the homeowner opened it slightly, he revealed a ring, which made the woman comfortable enough to open the door fully. He asked her for directions to a mansion where the village chief was heading, and she immediately ran off to lead him. Larry, noticing Leslie's familiarity with the area, teased him, suggesting it was a graduation trip, but everyone knew Leslie was lying. Leslie, Larry, and Rieka then disguised themselves as maids to infiltrate the party, instructing Kai to stay outside and provide support if needed. However, Leslie's true plan was to have Kai handle the assassination while they worked to lure the target into a position where Kai could strike. Leslie misled Larry and Rieka by telling them that their mission was to investigate, but the real mission was for Kai to assassinate the target. He gave Kai a list of tasks in case he lost track of them. When Kai questioned why Leslie was going so far, Leslie explained that it was because Vera had placed everything on the line for this mission. She was determined, and he wanted to help her in any way he could. He believed Kai would be fine with his current skills. Leslie then reported to Vera that everything was ready, and they were prepared to begin the operation. Kai took his position as a sniper, while Leslie's group incapacitated a guard and snuck into the building. Once inside the main hall, Leslie broke off and went alone, which confused Kai, who didn't understand why Leslie had separated from the group. Meanwhile, Larry and Rieka overheard a priest talking about a child of the gods and a Karatka and had to move away, unsure of what the conversation was about. Larry decided to find Leslie to ask him about it, but on his way, he ran into Eden, who knocked him out. Eden then went to find Leslie and told him that what he was looking for wasn't here and that Elsie would definitely survive today, meaning their mission would fail. The two immediately engaged in a battle. Leslie, unarmed, had to improvise by grabbing a shield and axe from nearby armor and then drew a sword to fight back. When Leslie pointed his sword at Eden's head, Eden also pointed a gun at him. Leslie swiftly kicked Eden's leg to escape and suggested Vera cancel the operation. However, she refused, so Leslie called Kai to inform him to stay in position. He instructed Rieka and Larry to lure Elsie to a window while he dealt with Eden. Larry remembered Elsie, so the mission would continue. With many people surrounding Elsie, Rieka had an idea. They launched fireworks into the sky to draw Elsie and others to the window where Kai had a clear shot. Kai saw the target and hesitated to take the shot. However, he realized Eden was cornering Leslie, and he had to choose between completing the mission or saving his vice captain. He ultimately decided to prioritize his teammate and shot off Eden's hand. Eden fled, and Kai apologized to Leslie for messing up the mission, but Leslie didn't blame him. He told Kai to hurry and join up with the others. Meanwhile, Larry and Rieka were chased by a machine, and they reunited with Kai. The three of them ran into a narrow passage to evade the machine, which continued to pursue them relentlessly. After some time, Leslie lured the machine, chasing him to a cliff, where it fell to its doom. However, Eden shot Leslie's glider, causing him to fall with the machine. Leslie's body was brought back to the base, and the only relic left behind was his sword. Meanwhile, Eden felt a sense of relief with Leslie out of the picture. He returned to the mansion and declared that everyone there would become prisoners. However, the priest and a few others managed to escape with Elsie. Kai's team was left uncertain about how to move forward without their vice captain. Staff at the base later asked about Leslie's belongings, and Kai volunteered to help clean up his things. The other three, tired of the silence, joined him in tidying up. Afterward, Kai inquired if they would get to meet Leslie's family, only to learn that there was no one left. With so many people dying at the base daily, things like this no longer seemed significant. Kai was then called to meet Vera, who insisted that the mission must continue. Kai, disappointed that Leslie had died for this very mission, asked her what the purpose of it all was, wanting to know why Leslie had to die. Vera couldn't answer directly and didn't force Kai to participate, leaving him with the option to decline. However, she couldn't say what would happen if he chose not to take part. Kai asked if Vera was sad about Leslie's death, and while she admitted she was, she also acknowledged that no amount of sadness would bring him back. Kai decided to think it over and was given 3 days to make his decision. Later, he remembered that Leslie had received a gift from Vera, so he went to Leslie's storage to ask the staff to open his box and find the item. Although the staff agreed to let him open it, Kai couldn't find what he was looking for and had to move on to his next task. He was then summoned for a mission briefing. At the meeting, Kai asked who would lead the team now that Leslie was gone. Vera revealed that she would be accompanying them this time. The group then returned to the underground village they had visited earlier. The girl who had guided them previously informed them that the village chief hadn't returned since that day, so Kai and Vera decided to investigate the mansion. Upon reaching the mansion, they found it deserted. Kai suspected that everyone had been taken prisoner. He went around the back to investigate and discovered a bag. He recalled the directions Leslie had given him a few days earlier, which contained a cryptic code. Rieka called out to him, and they noticed tire tracks. Vera instructed the team to follow the trail, though she still had other matters to attend to. Meanwhile, Eden interrogated the prisoners about the Child of the Gods, but they knew nothing. Nadia called to inform Eden that Team 11 had arrived. Since Eden was injured and Vera was also present, he decided to retreat for now, leaving the prisoners behind to be disposed of. When Kai's team arrived, they found the prisoners being attacked by monsters. They fired their weapons to draw the monsters away and keep the prisoners safe. Vera soon arrived and used her scythe to deal with the creatures, allowing the team to rescue the prisoners. She could kill a monster with a single strike, so they felt reassured. As the team exited, they came under sniper fire and asked Sumair for nearby sniper positions. There were 3 possible locations, all in the same area, so they split into groups to handle them. Although they were at a disadvantage due to the terrain, Kai was confident he could handle it. Eden then realized the team had fired at a post in front of them. He thought his position was still hidden, but Kai managed to approach him from behind. However, Eden fought back and knocked Kai's gun away. Vera then confronted Eden directly, which surprised him since she was protecting her team member. Eden decided to leave and see whether Vera or he would capture Elsie first. When they returned, the village chief handed over a treasure he had intended for Elsie. Vera recognized the ring and asked the chief to give it to her, promising to deliver it to Elsie. Back at the base, Vera and Kai remained quiet, while Sumair was surprised by the group's clever deception. However, she eventually realized that the idea had come from Kai. In this time, Kai had received his mission from Vera, determined to carry on Leslie's work so that his death wouldn't be in vain. Vera promised to send him the mission details soon. Meanwhile, she met with her superiors, who were disappointed by her failure to capture the target and the loss of her vice captain. They viewed her explanation as an excuse, but since the plan was already in motion, they couldn't cancel it. They offered her one last chance to fix things. Kai, meanwhile, went to the bar to ask the bartender about Leslie. The bartender wasn't particularly close to Leslie, but mentioned that once Leslie interacted with someone, it was hard for them to part ways. She recalled that Leslie often sat at a particular spot, writing something down. Kai asked her if she knew anything about a series of numbers, but she wasn't sure, suggesting they might be a bank card number. At the same time, Eden and Nadia were focused on locating Elsie. They were cautious, however, about Blake, the head of the guard team. Blake informed the priest that he had split his forces into 3 groups, as the enemy had few numbers. This strategy would keep the enemy guessing about which group was holding Elsie. While Kai pondered the series of numbers, Larry showed up, inviting him to help organize Leslie's photos into an album. When they entered the team's storage room, they came across many photos of Leslie, who appeared quite mysterious. Kai soon realized that the number Leslie had left for him was a code for a photo. After inputting the number, Kai found a picture of Leslie with Rieka and Larry. The two recalled that they had taken the photo at this very spot because of the scenic view. Vera then called the team for their next mission. The group returned to the underground world, where they encountered a strange place. Larry and Rieka recognized it, and Kai and Vera soon realized it was the same location from the photo. Vera informed Kai that this was where Blake was supposed to deliver Elsie to the underground military, and it was Kai's job to seize the opportunity. Vera took him to the roof, where Kai immediately recognized the scene from the photo. Vera stepped back and left everything in Kai's hands. Kai then discovered a cabinet nearby containing Leslie's belongings, a silver ring Vera had given him, and Leslie's notebook, where he had recorded his findings. Leslie had apparently known he would die and wanted to pass on everything to his successor. In the notebook, Leslie had written about his investigation into Vera's true intentions. Before Kai could finish reading, a monster attack interrupted. Blake's team and Elsie were under attack, and Vera would try to lure the target into position for Kai to take a shot. Kai noticed that Larry and Rieka were also being attacked by monsters. When the two encountered Eden, Kai decided to help. He fired a shot, but Eden soon detected his position. Kai then decided to help both Vera and his teammates, even if it meant confronting Eden directly. Eden mocked Kai for coming down to face him, realizing that Kai was following in Leslie's footsteps. He wondered why Kai had abandoned his sniper position, but Kai explained that he had left it to Rieka and Larry. Sumair mentioned that Kai had asked her to guide the two of them here and help Vera below. Kai tried to stop Eden, but Eden quickly left, uninterested in wasting time with him. Meanwhile, Vera encountered someone who had captured Elsie. This person believed that Vera had failed because things hadn't gone according to plan. However, he knew that Vera had the ability to manipulate time, so he planned to stop her from using that ability here. He ordered Nadia to detonate the building where Larry and Rieka were waiting, causing it to collapse. Though both of them were unharmed, Vera lost Elsie to the captor. Not long after, Vera was called to meet with her superiors, who reprimanded her for letting the target escape twice. However, Vera argued that this time, there had been interference from a third party, and she requested another chance. Her superiors, though frustrated, had no choice but to rely on the information Vera provided, as she had never been wrong in her intelligence reports. Vera's superiors informed her that this would be the last chance for her, with no room for mercy. A sniper could only miss 3 times at most. Meanwhile, Larry's group had been feeling increasingly perplexed by the strange events surrounding them. They suspected Vera was hiding something, and Kai suddenly had an idea. At the same time, Vera realized that her superiors had no knowledge of the future, a future she had once been able to foresee. All they cared about was their own advancement. She had changed the dark futures she had foreseen, but the recent events were unlike anything she had anticipated. A person who seemed to understand her secret abilities. She suspected this man might have powers similar to hers. This was the first time someone had gained the upper hand over her in any timeline, and she knew she now had to be prepared for the unpredictable. Kai called Vera, expecting her to assume he was coming to quit the mission. After all, she had recruited him knowing he would become a skilled sniper. She thought she would have to find a way to convince him to stay. However, when he arrived, she was surprised that he invited her to a barbecue with the whole team instead. A shocking turn of events as she realized that time had changed in ways she could no longer predict. The group successfully made some progress and now needed to know Vera's schedule. Sumair was tasked with hacking into the system to find out, while Kai went to buy food. Elsie had woken up at the place of Eden's superior, who believed he needed Elsie's power. Meanwhile, Kai visited the same arms dealer from before for assistance. Vera, not wanting to stir unnecessary emotions in her team, initially planned to cancel the barbecue and instead make the team train harder. But the system was under maintenance. She searched for cleaning tasks, only to find people moving equipment around, so that was not an option either. She planned to check for urgent missions, but that system was also down. Kai, meanwhile, had descended into the underground world to read Leslie's notes. He noticed that Vera was always trying to avoid getting too close to her team members, but still kept a balanced emotional distance to be able to work with them. Leslie had also found it strange that Vera seemed to know everything about the underground world despite rarely being on the front lines. Kai soon encountered the same monster that had chased him and Larry, but this time he was unexpectedly helped by a group of people, driving the monster away. Vera, realizing that everything had started to become unpredictable after Leslie's death, began to sense that something bigger was at play. Kai, meanwhile, was rescued by villagers from earlier. Back at the village, he asked the elder if he had any connection with Elsie. The elder explained that he didn't know her personally, but had entrusted a ring to be delivered to her because it was tied to a legend about a master and a vessel. Kai was confused and left. His 3 teammates, noticing that he had returned later than usual, suspected that Kai was hiding something. They decided to look for him, but when they couldn't find him, they all ended up gathering near the entrance to the underground world, wondering why they were searching for Kai there. When Kai finally returned and apologized for being late, he organized the barbecue. However, Vera didn't show up, so Kai went to her room to find out why. He found her asleep, and, out of concern, he placed a jacket over her. When Vera woke up, Kai apologized for having blamed her for Leslie's death. He expressed his genuine desire to support her in the mission, sensing that she was carrying emotions that she couldn't outwardly express. Vera left the room, and Kai returned to join the others. Vera realized that it was the emotions between the team members that made it impossible for her to predict what would happen. She decided to join the team at the barbecue. The next day, Kai was summoned to Vera's room, where she unexpectedly informed him that he would be discharged from the team. Vera then gathered the whole team for a mission to the underground world. The group questioned Vera about Kai's absence, and she informed them that he had been discharged. Kai, meanwhile, was officially notified by his superiors about his discharge for violating orders by entering the underground world without permission. He reluctantly accepted the punishment, though he couldn't understand how his superiors had found out about it. Later, Kai met another team leader, who expressed regret over Vera's apparent strong regard for him, as he was an exceptional rookie. Kai then went to say goodbye to his team, but he hadn't left yet because he hadn't bought his plane ticket. The group planned a farewell party for him. During this time, Vera met with someone involved in their plans, who expressed concern about her decision to discharge Kai, one of her key pieces. Vera assured them that it wouldn't significantly affect their strategy. Meanwhile, Kai and his 3 teammates went drinking to say goodbye. Larry, still upset, wondered why only Kai was punished when he too had illegally entered the underground world. Larry was shouting in frustration, and the others assumed he was drunk, but he hadn't been drinking. He felt that Kai had changed significantly since Leslie's death, speculating that Kai must be carrying a great burden or mission. Kai denied this and walked out. As Kai was walking away, he heard gunshots and rushed to investigate. He encountered a mysterious man who had been part of the plan with Vera. The man had been shot and told Kai that both he and Vera had fallen into a trap, urging Kai not to let the ring be stolen. Nadia had hacked into the system, allowing Eden to easily bypass the doors and enter. Eden proceeded to the storage room to steal the ring, but Vera discovered him. She revealed that the real ring was in her possession, and Eden decided to take it by force. At this moment, Team 11 began to realize that Kai hadn't opened up to them. Suddenly, Kai called to say he wasn't feeling well and was heading back early. Vera and Eden then engaged in a battle inside the storage room. Eden noted that Vera was the second person, after Leslie, who could dodge his bullets. He knew Leslie would never leave her behind, but Vera was too mysterious. Eden realized that Vera had repeated time countless times, witnessing Leslie's death over and over. Each time she reset, she was pushing Leslie toward death. When Vera launched an unexpected attack, Eden blocked it with his mechanical arm and shot her in the hand. Vera dropped the ring and her weapon, forcing Kai to intervene and help her. Eden admitted that Kai was something he hadn't accounted for, then ordered Nadia to retreat, though the situation wasn't ideal and he needed to buy time. The storage room exploded, and Eden managed to escape with the ring, He warned Kai that next time they met, he would be powerless against him. Vera then informed Kai that the ring held no real power because she had transferred its power into the conical object she had. She told Kai to escape with it, giving him a direct order. The next day, Kai arrived at the airport to leave. As he boarded the plane, he suddenly felt that there was still something he had to do and couldn't leave quietly. He decided to return. Kai ran to find Sumair, who informed him that Vera had instructed them to perform a mission at a fixed location, but now they were taking a different route. Sumair led Larry and Rieka to a church, where they encountered the person who had taken Elsie. He knew Vera had planted a tracker in the ring, which led them there. A battle ensued, and when Kai arrived, he discovered that his teammates and team leader were all dead. Eden revealed that his superior had successfully merged with Elsie, becoming a monster. He then shot Kai, and Kai suddenly woke up in bed, believing everything had been a dream. Kai was soon called to his superior's office to face the consequences of his discharge. The conversation felt strangely familiar, as though he had already experienced it. He then went to bid farewell to his team, and when they asked about his plans, the sense of déjà vu returned. Shortly after, the team threw him a farewell party, and Kai became certain that he was reliving the same events again. Kai then discovered that the conical object was in his pocket, solidifying his belief that the events he experienced in the dream were real. From this point on, things unfolded as they had before. Kai went to the bar to have a farewell drink with his team, and once again, Larry raised his voice in frustration over the perceived injustice towards Kai. Kai stepped outside, suddenly remembering the mysterious man in Vera's plan would be shot, so he sought help from the others. He and Sumair managed to stop Nadia before she could shoot the man. Nadia, realizing that the plan had been exposed, feared Eden might also be in danger and quickly ran off to find him. The mysterious man then revealed everything to Kai. He was a spy working for Vera and the assistant chief, the same woman Kai had met when he first received his punishment. Through the assistant chief, Vera was gathering information from high-ranking members, while the assistant chief was manipulating Vera to further her own plans. The man was involved in the assassination plot because he had sold information to Dr. Iceman, the leader of Eden's team and a scholar. Iceman believed that the appearance of the underground world signaled the onset of a great genocide, and Elsie was the key to it. Meanwhile, Rieka and Larry had taken Kai's place to rescue Vera from Eden. They knew about her repeated attempts to assassinate Elsie, but they wouldn't ask any questions and would simply follow her orders. That night, Vera realized that her power had been transferred to someone else. The following day, Vera and two team members went to the underground world. She still intended to visit the church, but Kai was already waiting for them. Despite being discharged, he chose to stay under the guise of a regular person wanting to follow them. Upon reaching the church, Vera instructed Kai to climb the mountain to observe, while she and the others proceeded as they had before. Iceman believed today was the day he would merge with Elsie, but upon realizing that the ring was a fake, he discovered that Vera had transferred her power to someone else. Vera revealed that she had grown tired of the power and no longer needed it. Iceman wanted Vera's ability to reverse time to awaken Elsie's power. Vera launched herself into battle, and Iceman, forced to let Eden handle things, rushed to stop Rieka and Larry from killing Elsie. Iceman dragged Elsie away and placed her on an altar, where she transformed into a cocoon, giving birth to a monster. Vera hadn't anticipated this, believing that the power of the Dark God wouldn't appear until the next day. However, Iceman merged with the monster, causing the church to collapse. When Kai arrived, he found that the entire team had been crushed under the rubble. He threw himself into battle with the monster, but died in the process, resetting everything once again. This time, Kai decided to gather more information. He went to save the spy and asked him about the conical object, but the spy had no idea what it was. Kai then recalled Nadia revealing her location to Eden during their battle, so he tracked her down to block Eden's escape route. He overheard a conversation between Eden and Nadia. Learning that Vera had repeated time countless times and had sent Leslie to her death over and over, Kai then realized what he needed to do. He took Elsie's borrowed cloak and went to the church to rescue Elsie, intending to flee with her. However, Vera, having just been rescued by Larry and Rieka, wondered where Kai was. Iceman, noticing Elsie was missing, sent the monster after her. Kai lost Elsie to Eden, but Vera's team arrived just in time to help him. Kai told Vera that he wanted to save Elsie, not kill her, because he knew that if Elsie died, Vera would too. Despite this, Vera was willing to accept that fate. Then the monster appeared again, slaughtering all nearby creatures. The underground world exploded, tearing the earth apart. Kai woke up and, this time, decided to reveal the truth to the team. He was a time traveler. He and the team made a plan. The first step was to capture Nadia to prevent her from sending information to Eden. Larry caught Nadia's 2 rabbits, tied her up, and stole a plane. Meanwhile, Kai went to rescue Vera and fought Eden. After a moment of fighting, Eden used a smoke bomb to escape and headed toward the landing plane to leave. However, the plane was piloted by Larry and Rieka. Eden was once again pursued by Kai, who timed his attack perfectly when Eden ran out of ammunition, disabling his gun. Eden realized that Kai had also reset time to trap him like this, so he conceded and jumped straight into the entrance of the underground world. Kai and his team then reunited with Vera, telling her that her power had been transferred to him. He promised to find a way to prevent the worst-case scenario. Although Kai had only died and come back to life 3 times, he understood that Vera had gone through this many more times. However, he would not give up and would try to save Elsie because he knew Vera was the future version of Elsie, who had traveled back in time to try to destroy herself. Kai knew he would likely never become a hero, but if there was a crying girl in front of him, he would want to help her. The team then descended into the underground world, knowing that to save Elsie, they had to reach the church before Iceman could begin the ritual to summon the demon god. However, monsters began appearing in droves to stop their progress. Vera personally arrived to assist the group, and Kai and the other 3 teammates recited the rules Leslie had taught them for Vera, telling her to view it as their wish for her. Larry and Rieka stayed behind to deal with the monsters, allowing the other 2 to move ahead. They quickly reached the altar and confronted Iceman. He knew that Vera had attempted many times but could never kill her younger self, Elsie, because it would cause a paradox in time, so she always tried to have someone else do it. Iceman then merged with Elsie again and became a monster. The other 2 arrived to support Kai, and they realized that Iceman was keeping Vera alive because he didn't know she had lost the ability to reset time. Kai still believed they could defeat Iceman if they could reclaim Elsie, so Sumair instructed Rieka and Kai to draw Iceman's attention while Larry would try to attack. The 2 charged at Iceman, while Larry focused his fire on one side of Iceman. Iceman turned to attack Larry, but Larry managed to free Vera, helping her fall to safety before making a slash across Iceman's body. Vera then realized that Elsie hadn't fully merged with Iceman because she hadn't completely disappeared yet. Kai then asked Vera to give him her cone-shaped object because he planned to absorb Elsie's power into it. Vera trusted him and handed it over. Sumair then devised a plan. First, Rieka and Larry would fire to block Iceman's movements, while Kai and Vera would try to attack him. Rieka and Larry would then switch to shooting the statue to collapse it on Iceman. They followed the plan, splitting into 2 groups, one to shoot and the other to attack. Once they pushed Iceman back, Rieka and Larry began shooting at the tower's pillar. When Iceman tried to counterattack both of them, Larry used weapons and a drone to shield Rieka, while she and Sumair used all their artillery to fire a blast that completely destroyed the tower's base, causing it to collapse onto Iceman. Kai and Vera quickly charged to attack Iceman. Vera took on the task of preventing the tentacles from interfering with Kai, allowing him to climb up and insert the cone-shaped object into the place containing Elsie to absorb her power. However, the tentacles growing from the demon god's body pierced Kai's body all over. Knowing he couldn't defeat the demon god, Kai quickly used the cone he held to stab into Iceman, causing him to completely vanish. Kai then handed the cone containing Elsie's power back to Vera and told her to live well. His life had been lost many times, so it didn't matter. He believed that if Leslie were in his position, he would have done the same. Saying that he didn't regret it would be a lie, but he was glad everything had been resolved. Kai then disappeared, and Vera believed he would return to them soon. No one knew for sure whether Kai had truly died or if he was in another cycle, but it was clear that the world he had sacrificed to save the present was functioning well, and it was all thanks to the hero Kai. The film ended here.